where do I start? Where do I start? How about we'll start here. So yesterday, Michelle from EPD, Electronic Product Design, put a post up about her father, Peter Egerman. So I can talk about this now. The family reached out to me because I was friends with Peter last week when the situation started to unfold with him. Peter's passed. It's hard to describe what Peter was to me. He's a friend and very much a teacher. You have to think, just bear with me here. You have to think that if you're running a big business like that some random person like myself calls 7, 8, 9 years ago, whatever it was, calls, that you stop everything that you're doing in your day and spend 45 minutes or 2 hours at a whack on the phone with that person, discussing things with them to help them understand exactly what they need. I learned more from Peter in my first 45-minute long phone conversation about transformers than I'd ever learned in my entire life up until I met him. He was willing to stop in the middle of his day and have an honest, good conversation and educate somebody. You know, Peter, you would call him and say, I've got this piece of equipment that's got an old school transformer in it, and that transformer's burned up. Can you help me out? And he'd be like, oh yeah, sure. Do you got a schematic for it? So you send him the schematic, you send him the transformer, and then he would recreate that transformer from scratch for you. That resource has been lost to us. Peter, for years and years, tried to find somebody that would be willing to come and learn from him to help learn the design. I don't know on the daily if maybe that window got filled or not. I don't know. So I can't speak to that. I know EPD is going to continue forward, and they're going to continue on, and they're going to do their thing. They've got that big building down there and all that stuff. I know that that's going to continue on, but still we have lost what I consider to be a magical resource. Straight up. He, just the way he thought about things has now been lost to all of us. It saddens me greatly. It really does. You know, you guys have been watching. The numbers on the YouTube channel totally support this next statement. The spoken word tour that I've been doing, where I've been driving around. In the beginning, if I had to, let's say, go to California, I was going to stop and I was going to interview somebody. And it was just fun content to try and, give people a face to the name and get a little bit of their history. And then it turned into more of I'm running against time now, I feel like. When I was back east last year, I was trying to work it into where I could go interview Peter. And just the week that I was there, I wish I could have interviewed him. But the week that I was in his neck of the woods, there was other things going on with him, and the stars didn't align for us to interview. And I thought, well, I'll come back and get Peter. I can't do that now. "2023 has been a long road to hoe, right? The YouTube content is one thing. We also have to understand that my primary function in life is to be here working, right? To be here pushing solder and, keeping the lights on kind of thing. The Patreon supporters, these guys over here, the Patreon channel, I don't get to put as much on there as I'd like to. I don't. I've got too much other stuff going on now that I have to attend to. If that makes any sense. This last year, I also lost my father. That's what me and Michelle were talking about on the phone, is how we're both struggling with the same situation, kind of. It was so tragic what happened with him. It just... The Patreon supporters have really stepped up and helped a lot. The reason I was able to do that trip. That whole trip was based around me taking equipment and dropping it off, picking up equipment, and that kind of thing. What allowed me to slow down on that road trip, because that whole road trip should have not taken more than a week, and I was gone for, what, a month and like a week? Month and a quarter, something like that. What allowed me to grab all that content for you guys was the support of the Patreons and the support of my friend 12 in the Valley, right? And from that, we've gotten Tom at Mako. We were able to get Tech 9. We were able to get Motown and Pennsylvania Pimp and Fat Boy and Derail. And there was a whole wing of that I never got the opportunity to go do. There was some other things that happened that made it so that I couldn't go interview a few of the guys that I wanted to. There's some health issues that took place and whatnot, but all of those things have been overcome. And so I'm ready to rock and roll. So we're going to go do another trip here coming up pretty quick, believe it or not. I got to tie it on the tail end of another project that I've been working on. And the project that I got to go work on is jaw-droppingly epically cool. It really is. I got to go to California. I got to go to Arizona. I got a couple things I got to go do in Texas. I got to go to Georgia. And intermixed amongst all of those things, I'm going to stop and do interviews of people and get the history. I'd really like to implore all of you guys that if I call you and say, hey, you got an hour that you could spend with me or two, to just simply say yes. There's a couple other people that are now trying to run around or have been running around. One guy in particular has been running around for 30 years and he's been interviewing people, and I think that's great, but the problem is he won't release any of the content. Where's it go? We don't know. Who's involved? We don't know. If it wasn't for Motormouth, nobody would be sitting down with me at all. I got to give props to my friend John. I kind of got jilted at the altar at the last minute by a Conco. I was supposed to go not interview, but sit down and kind of do like how it's made video per se with the guys at a Conco on how they rebuild tubes. Well, literally, I'm all the way in California. The day before I'm supposed to show up, they call me up and said, that interview is not going to happen, and corporate shut that down. So John stepped up to the plate and was willing to sit down and interview with me. And it gave everybody an idea of what I wanted to do, right? I had no idea when I started picking up my cell phone 10 years ago and recording, working on people's stuff. You know, this is what your stuff looked like when it got here. This is what I did to it while it was here, and this is how it worked here on my bench. The videos were more or less to help protect myself, right? In the beginning, everybody had an opinion about everybody else, and there was a lot of ugly stuff that was going on, and I had to document in some way, well, this is what it did here. What did you do to it on your end? I had no idea it was going to turn into this. I'm really grateful that it did. It's been a lot of fun. This has been a very fun adventure for me. All the cameras and having to learn about cameras and software and building computers to render 4K video, and it's been fun. I've enjoyed it. But I feel like I need to step up and I need to increase my pace of doing these interviews. The guys are getting a little bit older. The situations are getting a little bit more delicate. And I feel like every time I turn around, another one of the great legends that we've had in our hobby, our community, are gone. And we've lost that opportunity to have their own words and to have their own point of view and learn about who taught them what and how and where and with whom. I want to capture more of that going into 2024. I got to tell you, I still got work that's flowed over from 2023. I've had a lot of, like I've said, a lot of personal things go on. I've had a death in my family I've had 2 deaths this last year in my family, which ate 2.5 months out of the year. It's just a lot. It's been a lot going on. So I still got work left over from 2023 that I need to get done now. That's what this is. You'll see that my workload that I'm going to take on for 2024, which I'm not quite ready to do, but it's coming here pretty quick. And I know people are getting tired of saying, well, they call and I tell them maybe next month. Patient. Please be patient. I'm trying to do the best I can to balance, right? The workload is going to be fairly small. I'm going to take on probably a third of what I took on last year. This year's going to be hard. It's going to be a lot of sacrifices on a lot of different levels. A majority of it's going to be time, because I really feel in my heart that I need to spend more time trying to document some of the legends of radio. I mean, you guys love the content. 250,000 views based off of those 5 videos. YouTube's weird. They'll only count the IP address that you view from, that you guys get to see on your side of the street. They'll count it once. But then on the other side of the street, I have this complete different on the back end of YouTube that shows me exactly how many views the video's gotten. And 5 videos, 250,000 views, and your guys' retention time speaks very loud. Let's say I put up an hour and 30 minutes worth of interview, right? That hour and 30 minute worth of interview is probably got about an hour and 25 minutes worth of content, and the retention time of you guys is usually like an hour and 29 minutes for that 30-minute video. It's breathtaking. So it tells me that you guys enjoy it. So I'm going to try to give more of that to you. But at the same breath, I've got to keep the lights on, and I got to get the product out the door, right? I can tell you right now, I'm probably not going to take on hardly no new builds this next year at all. I'm just not doing it. I've got enough projects on my to build list to easily carry me through this year. So if you guys manage to sneak one in here with me, that must mean 1, I really like you, or 2, I really like your project. I don't know. I'm going to keep that to a minimum. A minimum. You should see the amount of stuff I shipped out of here today to go get powder coated. And this is work left over from last year. So the Patreons are awesome because they allow me not to have to be worried about YouTube revenue. YouTube does not pay me anything. I get somewhere between 20 and 75,000 views a day. Every day. Every day. And literally the net from the YouTube channel is. So that's why when I got my Patreon numbers up to the point where I didn't need to rely on any kind of revenue from YouTube whatsoever, I went to the ad-free content. I cannot control the ads at the beginning of the video or at the end of the video. They've taken that from us. But what I can control is the quantity of ads in the middle of the video, which I find very annoying and very distracting. And now that they've moved to a new 30-second and a minute-long ad schedules in the middle of the video, desperately trying to make money, I am so grateful for the guys on Patreon that are willing to step up and help support and fill that gap. Otherwise, I could not continue to do this whole video thing. It wouldn't be worth it. I'm taken from my family and time away from here. It wouldn't be worth it, right? It just wouldn't be. Through the kindness and the charity of people like 12 that recognize what I want to do, and they see the content that I'm wanting to create, I've been really, really blessed. And I know that quietly going into this next year, I'm going to have several more people that are going to want to step up and help, and we're going to go get this done. We're going to get more done. More interviews, more time, one-to-one, FaceTime with people. So like I said, I refuse to do the over the video, over the computer. I could sit down with the computer and do kind of like a podcast kind of thing. To me, that's weak. It's really, really weak. I don't enjoy that kind of content. The audio is usually all messed up. The picture quality is very poor. I'd rather go and meet the people and then bring the interview to you guys. So that's the direction we're headed for 2024. Onward and upward, right? Gentlemen, please pray for our friends at EPD. Have them in your thoughts this week because it's going to be a hard week for their family. We've lost a lot of people last year, a lot. And this year's not starting off any better. This is not. Not just with Peter, but many. So far, we're up to 4 or 5 guys that I know of that were pillars in this community that have already gone just since last month. Our thoughts and prayers need to be with all their families as well. On that note, I'm going to go back over here and keep working on this 6 pill. I want to say thank you for tuning in. That's where we're at, and that's what we got going on. But I thought I'd come out here and give you guys a little bit of a status update. How's it turned into this? I don't know, but I'm sure grateful that I get to be here. I thank every single one of you guys for your help. Every single one of you guys that has hit the subscribe, the notification, or have come and joined me on the Patreon channel. I say thank you. I'm going to do my due diligence to do more, and do more.